Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Webinar Wednesday. My name is Ria Stark. I'm the Digital Engagement Manager at TLC. And to kick off the first webinar, that's right, this is our first webinar this year, we're going to be showcasing our latest mobile app, which is TLC Go. TLC recently partnered with Solus, based out of the UK, to provide an elegant, feature-rich mobile app, which is available today for customers of any TLC integrated library system. That does include library.solution, library.solution for schools, and CarlX. So today's webinar will highlight those features, that functionality, and specifically we're going to be looking at features that are well suited for a public library system. We do have a second webinar next week that will focus more on the features perfect for a school library audience. So if that's you, you're more than welcome to hang out here and keep watching, but next week will also be more of the schools focused one. So just a few housekeeping items before we get started. All of our webinars are recorded, and this one will be available tomorrow on our website at tlcdelivers.com/webinars. And today throughout the presentation, if you do have any questions, please go ahead and add those into the questions panel. We will get to them at the end of the session. And before you log out today, just go ahead and jump in and download those handouts to provide more information for you. So a couple of tasks ahead of you. But I do want to introduce our panelists today. We are being joined by Andrew Daye. He's the Chief Technology Officer at Solus, and he's joining us from Edinburgh. Andrew, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, what can you tell us about TLC Go today?
Hopefully everything that you need to know. So thanks, Ria. I'm just going to go into the next slide here. So great thanks for that introduction, and hopefully I can give you as much information as you need. And if anyone has any questions, then please put them into the question box, and we'll be happy to answer those at the end. So who are Solus? We've been developing public library apps now for over 10 years, and we have over 420. So this slide says 420 total apps. It's actually now 423, so it keeps on going up, which is great news. And those apps serve over 7,000 library locations across the world, predominantly in the UK, Ireland, the US, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. But we also have some libraries in Chile, in Peru, and a few other places around the world. So really widely used across public libraries and academic libraries across the world. We also have a large number in implementation right now, and that's only growing as time goes on, which is great. So the app itself is an app that runs on your iPhone, iPad, iOS device, or an Android device, and it's branded for your library. It's not a TLC app in the store. It's not a Solus app in the store. It's your library's app in the store. So let's take a look at how that actually works. So on my device here that hopefully you can see, I'm going to open up the App Store. And then I'm going to search for Wellington Libraries. So Wellington Public Library in New Zealand, it's the capital city of New Zealand, and they are a Carl.x customer, and they have our app. And you can see here, I've searched for it in the store, and it's listed as Wellington City Libraries in the store, and that's provided by Wellington City Council. So there's no mention of Solus, there's no mention of TLC. It's just a connection between your patron, who's using the App Store on their device, and your library service. So in this case, Wellington City Libraries. And that's all. There's only two parties in this conversation here. There's no third party involved. And that's the way we think that it should be between you and your patrons. So let me just start that again. I'll keep going. So I've installed the app. I download it onto my device, and I open that app. And you can see, again, it's all Wellington's branding. It's Wellington's name, their graphics, their logo, their strapline, and you can see it's their content that's in the app. So this is the home screen that users will see when they are opening the app and they're using the app, and it's all fully branded for that library service. So I've got some carousels here as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over and show you some more information in a demo app that we have that is branded TLC. But I just wanted to highlight that when you're using the app or when your patrons are using the app, they're never going to see that branding. They're only going to see your branding, your library service on their device. So hopefully this should be a little bit bigger now on the screen. And you can see we've branded this one as TLC Go because that's what the product is called. But again, it's your library branding that would be shown on the device. So what have I got here? On the home screen, I have a big search bar right at the top, and I can search for something. Let's do a quick search for gluten. So people looking for gluten-free foods or recipe books on their in their library. You can see it brings up a nice graphical search results. Got 19 results. We've got some search facets and limits that we can apply here as well. And if I go into that particular title, I can see the holdings. If it's a physical title, I can see the copies that the library has, and I can place a hold on that title. If it's an electronic title that has a Mark 856 record in the catalog, then that place hold button would change to a link to the electronic title. And depending on your e-content vendor, that could be a link to their website, it could be a link to their app, a link to the content itself, and that really varies from e-content vendor to e-content vendor. We have some work that's ongoing in terms of integrating more and more e-content vendors directly into the app, and that's going to be coming out over the next few months. But always, if there's an 856 record there, we will get the user, get the patron to that content, whichever way possible with that e-content vendor. So if I come back out of there, the other thing that I can do is I can scan an ISBN barcode. Now I can't do this on the simulator that I'm showing you right now, but on a physical device, I could tap the scan ISBN barcode button here. That'll bring up my camera on my device, and I can simply look at the camera at the ISBN barcode on the back of a book. Let's say I'm in a bookstore. I can scan that barcode and see if the library has a copy of that item in its collection, and if it does, obviously I can place a hold on that title. So it's a really great, really quick way of finding out if the library has a title in stock. Moving on down from the search, I'll come back to the little hamburger menu at the top there. But we have a carousel, and this carousel is a carousel of content that you, the library, can configure and decide what you want to show on that carousel. There's one here on the home screen. If I tap more, you can see you can have additional carousels on there. So we've got January staff picks. We've got those gluten-free recipes again. And again, all of this is configurable by the library service on our content management system. Our content management system is a website that you log into. You can manage a huge range of things within the app, be it the graphics, the icons, the content that you're connecting to, and a whole pile of different features in the app. So you can configure your carousels either using bibliographic IDs, using ISBNs, etc. And those will then appear for your patrons in the app. So I'm going to go log in right now, sign into an account. So this is a test account that I have here. Same with the PIN. If I have my barcode or my library membership card, I can scan the barcode instead of typing it in as well, but I can also type it in directly. So I'll log into my account. What's happening here in the back end is our app is connecting to our server, which is then connecting to your ILS instance, be that a library.solution instance or a carl.x instance of the ILS. It's then authenticating with the ILS, and it's connecting using APIs to get information from the ILS. So be it the search, the item details, or my account. Now that I've signed in, you can see right at the bottom of the screen, I have an additional icon here that says my barcode. If I tap on that, you can see that my barcode pops up. So that's the account that I've just signed in with. And there's little dots here that actually signify that I can scroll up and down. And this is because my barcode or my account has been signed into previously, and I have signed in with multiple other accounts. So I may have my wife, my kids' accounts on here as well. And when that's the case, you'll see them under the account menu as linked accounts, but under the barcode menu, I can also swipe up and down for those other barcodes. So I can get those really easily. And if I'm using, let's say, a self-check kiosk, or I'm going to a staff desk in the library, as long as you have optical barcode readers, then you can read the barcode off the screen here, and these, it doesn't need to have their membership card with them anymore. They can simply use the barcode from the screen. If I actually, a little hidden feature here that most people don't know about is if I tap on the barcode, it actually copies my barcode number to my clipboard. So let's say I'm wanting to use my barcode number with an associated e-content service or online resource where I have to type in my barcode there. I can simply tap on that, it'll copy it to the clipboard, and when I come to that website, I can paste that directly into that website as well. So that's a little hidden feature for you there. The reason we scroll up and down between barcodes is anyone that's ever had a page of barcodes and tried to scan that with a scanner will know that it's not an easy task. So by swiping up and down, you only ever have one barcode on the screen at a time. So it makes it much easier to use those self-check kiosks. Going to come back out of that barcode now, and if I go into my account, so I can either tap on the hamburger menu or the my account tab, and you can see my account summary. I currently have 3 items checked out, or Tim here has 3 items checked out. I can go into that and I can see the 3 items, I can see their due dates. And if I select on one of those items, I can see the actions that I can take. So for this DVD, I could renew that item. I can hit view item if I want to go back to see its record within the catalog. I can come back out. I can either renew all, or I can select specific items that I want to renew and then renew those selected items as well. So quite a few different options there. These are my primary accounts checkouts, but as I said earlier, we've got these linked accounts as well. So you see those in a single at-a-glance view of all your linked accounts and all your checkouts in one view. If I go into holds, so any items I've placed a hold on, I'd see in here. I can then take the actions that are available for those holds. If it's one that hasn't been fulfilled yet, I could cancel that hold or change the pickup location if that's available at your library. Or suspend or resume the hold again if that's available at your library. Again, those linked accounts all appear here so that we can see all of the holds across my whole family group in one at-a-glance view. Same with fines. Whoops, I've got a fine there on my primary account there. Or it's a charge actually, not a fine. I've not been a naughty boy. So I've got a charge there on my account. There's no payment options currently available in here. But that is also an upcoming development in the app. Those linked accounts that I mentioned, this is where you can add additional accounts or you can sign out of those accounts. You can deauthorize those accounts. And that's essentially just multiple accounts that you have signed in at the same time. It doesn't depend on any linkages within the ILS. It's purely just, I've got this one account signed in and I can have multiple other accounts signed in all at the same time and take actions on those accounts. If I am signed into multiple devices, so let's say I'm signed into my iPhone, I'm also signed in on my iPad, I can deauthorize other devices from this device. So, I've lost my iPad or it's been stolen and I don't want anyone that had that device to be able to access my library account, but I don't really want to change my PIN number, which would obviously do the same thing. I can simply deauthorize that remote device from any other device that is currently signed in. Moving on down to preferences, you can see on that home screen, there was a bunch of other things beneath the carousel, which I'll come to. The ordering of those different options is defined by the library, but as the patron, I have the ultimate decision-making power as to what order those items are in. So let's say for me, the social is the most important thing on that home screen. I can tap and I can drag that to the top, so that's always at the top. There's a few school library things in here as well, but let's say self-checkout is the next thing that I really want to have on my home screen whenever I open the library app. So I've got social, self-checkout, and my account. That's the most important things to me as a patron of the library. So I can come back out of there and we can see that social, self-checkout, and my account are near the top of the app. The only other thing that's on there is a pinned tab that's been added by the library, and this is to allow you to always ensure you can get your message right at the top there. So if you added something on there that's in this case, an emergency notice. That will always be at the top, no matter what order the patron orders the rest of the content. So you can always make sure that your message is out there and up at the top. One other thing under the account menu is the language option. So there's a few different languages enabled in this test app, but our CMS has translations for 24 different languages and counting, along with 8 different regional variations. So I think there are 5 different versions of English. So English United States, United Kingdom, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, etc. And there's at least 2 versions of French. In this case, it's French Canadian. We also have the OG French from France in there as well. There are slight differences in those regional variations. And those are default languages. So any element within the app, any label, any title, anything that's in there is all fully configurable in our content management system. So let's say in your library, you don't call them holds, you call them requests or something similar. In the UK, we tend to call those reservations, and we call checkouts loans. So the default in the English UK would be loans and reservations. But if a particular library says, actually, we don't use either of those, we use something different, you can change that terminology at any time within the content management system. And you can change it for all of the languages that you have enabled for your app. So everything in the app is fully configurable in the CMS, including all of these home screen tabs that we mentioned earlier. So these sections here can link to either functionality within the app, so things like My Account, self-checkout, which we'll come on to a little bit later. All of those different elements are configurable in the app. The title, the subtitle, you can change that. The icons, you can upload your own icons into the CMS, so be that images, PNG files, or you can choose from a library of 7,000 different icons that we have within the CMS, and that's what all these ones are here. These are just icons in our icon library that have been chosen out, and we've used those within this test app. We've applied the red coloring, and that's because that's the branding for TLC here. But the coloring would change based on your default color within the app, and you can actually configure and customize each of those icons individually to different colors if you have a color palette that you want to use within the app. The open hours and address, in this case, it's a single library. Many of our library customers are multi-branch libraries. I think the largest that we have now is the Library Consortium in London, which is around 300 libraries now. So their nearest library section is a fairly big one. This is a single library, as I said. It thinks the library is 3,600 miles from me, which is maybe a little bit too far to be useful in person, but obviously we have all those digital resources as well. If I select the opening hours section, I can see the opening hours of the library. It tells me that the library is currently closed. In my neck of the woods, it is after 5 p.m. So that is correct. It's currently closed, but it'll be open again tomorrow at 9 a.m. If it was currently open, it would be in green. If you're within an hour of the closing time, that would show in an amber color. So just some nice visual cues for the library service there. For each library location, you can have an image, you can have the address, the ability to view it on map, get directions in Google Maps, phone the library, email the library, and additionally beneath this, you can schedule content items, be that web links, be it videos or PDFs or anything, and really any digital content type. You can schedule that up to appear underneath the library's contact details. And again, in a multi-branch library, instead of just going straight to a specific library's information, you would get a list of all of your libraries sorted by distance from your current location. So the app will ask you for your current location, and then we'll show you a list sorted by distance from that GPS location. In addition, that list shows you at a glance which libraries are open right now and which ones are closed. So this is a single library, so that's showing on the home screen here. In a multi-branch library, you would see that within that next screen. Now, the sections within the home screen are also fully configurable in that they can be a hierarchical list. So if I select online resources, you'll see that this takes me to another page which then has more items beneath that. So I've got a list of e-content vendors here. I've got Libby, Overdrive, EBSCOhost. We've also got some other e-content providers, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Hoopla, Press Reader, Canopy, etc., etc. So these can either take you to another page that shows you more information about that vendor along with a link, or it could be a direct link out to that particular e-content vendor. If it's an e-content vendor that has an app, we can link to the App Store directly. So if you're on an iOS device, it'll take you to the App Store. If you're on an Android device, it would take you to the Play Store for that vendor's app as well. So really getting your patrons to the outcome that they desire, either be it finding items in the catalog, taking actions on their account, or getting to e-content resources that you as a library subscribe to. But it doesn't necessarily need to be other vendors that we link to. It could just simply be to a website that you have or a web URL. It takes about maybe 2 minutes on our CMS. If you, for example, wanted to set up a library satisfaction survey, you could set one of those up on SurveyMonkey, get the URL to that survey, and then create a new tab on the home screen and point it to a web URL, that library satisfaction survey. And within 2 minutes, you could have an instant feedback mechanism within your app for feedback on the library service. There's a few other things in here that we've added just as examples. Again, it can be any content that you find on the web, be it web links to web pages or videos or PDF files that you want to upload into the app, and they can all be available directly from the home screen of the app. So that's a really quick, really fast fly through of the various features within the app. I'm just going to switch back to the PowerPoint slideshow right now and just talk about a couple of other things that we have within the app. They're a bit more difficult to demo that way. But to give you a summary, the TLC Go app includes obviously the app itself, tight integration with the ILS platforms, that content management system that allows you to manage the content, configuration, features, languages, labels, text, everything within the app is fully available for you to do at any time directly from the browser on at your convenience. You don't have to come back to Solus or TLC to make changes to your app. We don't need to post any updates to the store. We've seen that with a few other app vendors where you change your opening hours and they have to post an update to the store. We don't have any of that. Everything is fully managed through our content management system. The click and collect curbside management, I'll come on to that a little bit later as well. That's a really great feature that we developed just as the pandemic was kicking off back in 2020. We launched it during 2020 and it really fits into your existing workflows of how the library works. But I'll come back to that. The languages, the full deep language support within the app. And one thing that's really key here is if a user has their device set to, for example, Spanish, when they open the app for the first time, the app will be in Spanish if you've enabled that language. They don't have to go and find the language option and then change it to Spanish. It will automatically default to that language because that's the language on their device. They can obviously go in and change it if they want to as well, but it will automatically pick up their device settings. Everything that patrons do within the app is logged and tracked in a patron privacy friendly way. So we track all the actions, but we don't tie them back to individual patron accounts in any way, shape, or form. And then the activity is reported on at a high level, those statistics for how many devices the app has been installed on, how many times the app has been opened, different actions that have been taken within the app. So it could be placing holds, searching for items, renewing checkouts, etc., etc. All the touch points that we have with ILS are all tracked, so you can analyze those and report on those. We automatically send an email with those stats the first of every month, mainly because most of our libraries tend to report their stats, their KPIs on a calendar monthly basis. So we send you an Excel spreadsheet with all those stats and those reports on a monthly basis, so it's really easy for you to copy and paste those into any other reports that you require. And lastly, obviously, commitment to ongoing support and development. So leading in on that ongoing support and development, as I said, when the pandemic kicked off, we built this click and collect process, which is our curbside pickup management tool. So within the app, if I have a hold that's ready for pickup, it shows me a button that says click and collect or curbside pickup or whatever you want to call it, because again, it's your library and you can rename any of the options within the app. So I go into it, and in this case here, we've configured this for a library that has a parking lot. So you drive up with your car, you can provide the library with your information, your make and color of the car, license plate, etc. And then you can tell the library you're on your way. When you are on your way, you can either use your GPS location to give the library a real-time update of your ETA, or you can provide a manual ETA update. The library never knows your location. In fact, our server never even knows your location. That's all calculated on device. Again, end-to-end patron privacy is a key tenet of our design. So we work out how long you're going to be to take you to get from your current location to the library, and that then gets sent to our server, which is provided to the library. When you've arrived, you can tap the button to say, I'm here, and the library are then updated as to your status. And you can there's actually a two-way real-time messaging component in there now. So in that second screenshot, it looks like it's just a single, we have your items and heading towards you. It's now actually a two-way communication chat box. So the library can communicate with the patron and vice versa. So if we're outside of click and collect hours, the user would see that as a message when they can next use the service, or if there are no staff members available. You can only use click and collect when there's a staff member at the staff dashboard and they have enabled the session. We don't want people saying, hey, I'm on my way to the library, and no one knows about it. We don't want them screaming into the void. So, we ensure that the staff are definitely on the ball. So this is the staff dashboard. It's a web-based dashboard. This is me looking at it on an iPad. I can see the patrons that are en route. I can see the items that they are looking for. We can go and pick those off the whole pickup shelf, because we're, again, linking into your existing holds process, your holds workflows. So those items should be on the whole pickup shelf waiting for the patron. Go grab those items, and then we can tap the button to say ready. So those items are ready for the patron when they arrive. When the patron has arrived at the library, they will move across from the ready column into the arrived column, and then from there we can immediately and in one with a one-touch, one-tap button, check all of those items out for that patron and take them out to the car if it's a car-based pickup service, or place them, for example, into a box and then let the patron know which box number their items are in if it's a fully contact-free service. It's very flexible, so depending on how you want to run that curbside process from your library, but it means there's no more spreadsheets, no more tied up phone lines, etc., etc. We've got a bunch of information from a number of libraries who have rolled this out after they already had a process in place that they kind of put together themselves, or the other services that they have tried, where it's a scheduling based service. This is more of a real-time Starbucks-like process, and it can facilitate a real high throughput of patrons if you are not able to open your library. Now, hopefully those the instances where you're not able to open your library with the pandemic, that's not going to come back again. We don't know that, but we've also found that a number of libraries are continuing this service because their patrons have really taken to it from a customer service perspective. So it's a really popular service. There's no charge for this. It's embedded as part of the app, so anyone that has the app can take advantage of this process. So in terms of add-ons on top of the app subscription, there's a couple of things that are separate from the main app subscription, mainly because not everyone is going to take up these features. And with these features, there is the possibility to potentially save the library budgets from other hardware purchases that you may have previously had to do in the past. So those are, in particular, self-checkout. So self-checkout allows patrons, when they're walking around the library, to grab items off the shelf, and if you have RFID, tap your phone on the RFID tag and check the item out to your account. deactivate the RFID tag security, and just throw the item in a bag. And then when you're done, you simply walk out the door. So I'm going to come on and show a little demo of that very quickly. The other add-on to the product is a thing that we call templates, where in consortial environments where different libraries may have different sets of content, different information that they want to give to their patrons, rather than having a single holistic view for the whole consortium. Once you've signed in, we can pick up, that's a patron that's a member of a particular part of the consortium, and then effectively reload the app entirely. So different settings, different language, different graphics, different content, different carousels. It's like a separate app within the app once you've signed in, and the app picks up that you are from a particular part of the consortium. And that can be rolled out. I think the most that we have in an app at the moment is 100 different templates, and that's a fairly large consortium in Illinois that has lots of libraries, and each library has their own consortium with a completely different set of content, completely different set of information, carousels, etc., and branding for their patrons. So self-checkout. When I've signed in to the app, I sign into my account, then I have a self-checkout button on the app. And this can be configured on a per location basis. So we use the location services on the device to determine that you are in a library that currently has self-check enabled. We also use Bluetooth beacons for check-in, but I'll talk about that in a second when we get to check-in. So I've gone to the self-check option within the app. I've got two options there, checkout or check-in items. I've selected checkout. I tap my phone on an item. It reads the RFID tag, it decodes the tag, and it checks it out on the ILS. Now, it may be an item that I don't want to see. I don't want anyone else seeing that me checking out, so I don't want to take it to a staff member. I don't want to take it to a public kiosk. I just want to do it discreetly at the shelf, check out the item, and throw that item in my bag. So I've scanned the items, I've checked them out. That's the process complete. That's it, done. There's no additional steps. There's no hardware that you have to go and visit to deactivate the items. It's done, it's in my bag, and I walk straight out the library. And I can see that it's now in my checkouts, and I also have a self-service receipt within the app. And if I go into that, I can see the items that I checked out, the time that I checked it out, and the due date as at the time when that item was checked out. So whereas if I renew items later or make other changes, my account, my checkouts will always be the live account view. Self-service receipts will always be a point-in-time snapshot of what happened in that transaction at the library. So self-check-in, fairly similar but reverse process. So I tap self-check in the app. I select check-in. I'm just going to pause it here because it goes really quickly. So I tap check-in. And then what we also do is we use little tiny Bluetooth beacons that can be placed anywhere within the library. And that allows us to ensure that the patron is definitely within the library, within the security perimeter of the library, so inside your gates, and optionally within a specific check-in zone within the library. That's probably where you're going to have some return shelves or a drop box. So we have two check-in zones in this particular library, a ground floor check-in and a first floor check-in. And it gives me a little bit of information as to where those check-in zones are. So if I carry on here, you'll see the top one goes green. That's because it detected me right beside that check-in zone. It then allows me to check in items, again by the same process, tapping my phone on the item, reading the RFID tag. It's reactivating the security and then checking it in to the library in the ILS. So it's secure by default. It reactivates security first and then checks it back in to your account. And depending on the action or the outcome that's required for that item, it could be an item that needs to be transferred to another branch, or it has a hold on it placed by another patron. You may want to say place that item in the Dropbox, or if it's an item that has no action required, it's being returned to this branch, it just needs to be reshelved. You may have a return shelving, which anyone can then come up and pick up that item from. So different messages based on the action that's required on that title. So if you've got holds that they're being trapped, it would be a different action to an item that doesn't have anything, any trap on the item. So you've decided that you really love TLC Go and you want it for your library service. What's the process from there? So the first thing you need to do is get an Apple developer account. This is free for libraries and non-profit organizations. The reason we say that first is it can take a few days to get that sorted out, or sometimes a few weeks. So we take that off right at the start. We can't do it on your behalf just because of Apple's processes and policies. Google has no such restrictions, but if you have your own Play Store account, we can also use your Play Store account as well. The first thing we ask you to do in terms of giving information back to us is an onboarding questionnaire. We generate an Excel spreadsheet which has a list of all your locations if you're a multi-branch library. We ask you to fill that out, so it's things like your opening hours, any e-content resources you have, Facebook, Twitter accounts, events and news feeds if you have them. You fill that out, send it back to us along with your graphics, your logos, etc. We then build the app and you can then start playing. We provide it to you through TestFlight, which is a way of delivering apps not through the public app store. It's an Apple service for testing those apps. You can play with that app, you can test it, you can tweak it, you can change things, you can modify it to your heart's content. When you're finished doing all of that and you're happy to go, we will submit that to Apple and to Google for go live in the store. We can schedule that out if you have a particular launch date, or we can just say, as soon as Apple have reviewed it and approved it, then it can go live in the store. Once it's live in the store, we can send you a QR code, which you can use for promotional purposes, either in print or digitally. And it's a single QR code. We've seen instances in the past where somebody will say, oh, here is a QR code for Apple and here's another one for Google, and try and scan the right one, even though they've been printed side by side on a pamphlet. We provide you with a single QR code, and when you scan it on an Apple device, it takes you to the App Store. Scan it on an Android device, it'll take you to the Play Store for your app. So it's a really simple, really clean way of promoting your app. And then you're live and your patrons can start downloading the app and you getting the benefit of all the wonderful features. So just in terms of graphics, I just wanted to show you a few examples here. Here's some TLC customers, just showing you the different things that can be done. So I did mention that the icons don't all have to be the same color. So we've got lots of different colors on the first one there, that Warsaw Community Public Library. Different icons there. Wellington also have different icons. And then Danbury Library, who's another one of our app customers, have gone completely the other way. They've decided to go with a purple background with white text, and they've actually uploaded their own icons there that they've put together. So if you have that graphic resource in-house, then you can absolutely utilize that and upload the graphics and change the look and feel of the app. I'm going to stop there and ask if you have any questions, if there are any questions that have been put through in the chat. I don't know because I haven't been able to see those. I'm going to pause on that slide just now and see where we're at.
Definitely, Andrew. There have been a good amount of questions, so I do want to get through them kind of quickly. But before we jump into there, we have some questions for everybody listening today for our webinars. We have a few polls that we would like to bring up. So while Justin on the back end is launching those polls, if you have a question, drop those in the questions panel and we'll get to them as well. So for everybody on the call today, does your library currently provide a mobile app for your patrons? Yes, you do. Not now, but you have in the past. No, or maybe you're not sure. Go ahead and answer there. We'll give you all a second to add those in. And while you are answering, I'm going to ask Andrew. We did get one question that's asking about what's the connection between Boopsy and Solus?
Great question. So Boopsy was a former app vendor, had been running for a good number of years, fairly successful a few years ago. But the app really kind of stagnated. I think from around 2014 onwards, they didn't really develop the product any further. We actually acquired the business from Demco, who had previously purchased Boopsy as a company. We acquired the business, I think, in September last year. Oh, sorry, September 2020, and begun the process of migrating customers across from the old Boopsy apps across to the Solus powered library app that you're seeing here today, such as TLC Go. So anyone that was on Boopsy is now on the Solus library app, and
Perfect.
yeah, that was a fun process, and customers, I think, were really excited to have an app that was new, fresh, modern, and continuing to be developed, which is always great.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like our first poll has results back. 64% of those on the call do not currently have a mobile app. So hopefully this was a nice demonstration of what you can get to. We have a second poll available as well, which should appear on your screen in just a moment, and that is whether your library offers curbside service or the click and collect, or I think I heard someone call it a sidewalk service.
Mhm.
Especially during the pandemic, I know that became very popular with the curbside service, but are you still continuing to offer it? Do you offer it temporarily? Are you not doing anymore, or do you not offer that as a service? And while you all are answering that, I'm going through, we are getting a lot of great questions. I'm going to try to group these as much as possible because there's a few that hit on the same topics. Um, Going down the list. All right, and here's another quick one we can do while we're getting those answers back. Does this product have any indigenous languages such as Hopi, Zuni, Denai, which is the Navajo?
A great question. So we don't currently have any indigenous languages in the US. We do have some languages across the world, which are, I guess, similar in nature. So Maori in New Zealand, Welsh, and yeah, so we do have Gaelic and Gaelic in Scotland and Ireland as well. So which are fairly, I guess, similar in background, but we don't currently have any indigenous languages in the United States or in North America, but we can absolutely add those in, and it's something that we, if languages are similar to most features, most feature development within the app. So if it's something that someone suggests that would be of relevance to not just their library, but most libraries, which most features in libraries tend to be, then we add those to the platform, and they're just generally available for everyone. So we recently added a language that was requested by one of our customers, um, and we didn't just add it for that one library, we added it for everyone. So that's why there are 24 languages now in the product. So if we were to add any of those indigenous languages, if we can get translations for those, then they would be available for every library that uses a product to have those languages in their app.
Perfect, thank you. And we do have the results back as well. It looks like the majority of our audience does still do curbside service. Um, the next highest is not anymore. But with those other options being able to go out into the stacks and check out there, I think that's also very helpful. We do have one last question for everybody, and that's I'm going to tie into one of the questions that everybody has. The next big question that everyone has asked us is, how can I get this? How much does it cost? I want to know more. So if you asked something related to that in the questions panel, this poll is for you. Hit that yes button, and TLC will follow up with you after the webinar to provide more information specific to your library. So if you're interested in getting a quote, if you are interested in whether or not it works with your software, if you just want to know more, hit that yes button. And now I'm going to go through some of these other questions that we have available. So a few about the connections. For eResources, can you do SIP2 connections for logging into the eResource? And there was a follow-up to that as well on authenticating through an easy Proxer server. Can you speak to both of those?
Yes, absolutely. So the SIP2 connection for authenticating with e-content is more so that the e-content can authenticate with the ILS. It's kind of the other way around. With the app, the developments that we have, we're actually using the APIs that are being made available by those e-content vendors, and that would include Overdrive, Baker Taylor's Access 360, Biblioteca's Cloud Library, Hoopla, Canopy. I'm going to forget the rest of them. That's the ones off the top of my head. It's kind of the other way around. We're essentially authenticating the patron against the content vendor, who would then use SIP2 to validate that patron against the ILS. In terms of Easy Proxy, any URL, which is what the Easy Proxy service provides, it's a kind of customized URL with a big long string on the front of it. Any URL can be added through the CMS, and you can open those Easy Proxy URLs through the app as well. So absolutely.
Okay. We have a couple functionality questions as well. Someone wants to know if you can link the feedback button to a Google form instead of a SurveyMonkey.
Absolutely, yes. Any
Perfect.
link again, and the
Mhm.
Google Forms are usually fairly well mobile optimized as well. So yeah, absolutely.
Great. Several people asked a variation of this question, so I'm going to try to capture it as best as possible, but they're wanting to know in terms of self-check, do patrons have to have their electronic card and check it out? Do they need RFID? If you could just go over that process really quickly.
Sure, absolutely. So the patrons don't need their card in any way, because once you've signed into the app, we know who the patron is. We have their authentication to the ILS, so they don't need to have anything else with them from a patron identification perspective. You've signed into the app. That's all that's required. In terms of the technical aspects, if you don't have RFID, then we can use barcode to check out items. On the ILS, we can scan the item barcode on the item and then use that to check the item out on the ILS. If you do have RFID, then we can scan the RFID tag instead, decode the RFID data, which effectively just gets you back to that same item barcode number anyway. And then check it out on the ILS. The additional thing we do, obviously, with RFID is we deactivate the security on the tag. It's not possible to deactivate the if you have like EM tattle tape security. It's not possible to do that with a mobile device. The device just isn't big enough to have the size of magnet that would be required to do that. So it's not possible to do tattle tape deactivation with a mobile device. However, with RFID, obviously we can deactivate the security on the tags using the mobile device. But if you
Okay.
just have barcodes, then the system will work equally well just with the barcodes on the item barcode printed on those items.
Perfect. And someone did have a specific question about an older RFID tag, the ITG tag sys written tags,
Yep.
whether it works with that. If it doesn't, at least there's the barcode. But do you know offhand if it works with older RFID tags?
Yeah, it does. So the system will work with any HF tags, UHF tags, which I don't think are very prevalent in the US. We can't support, but HF, any HF tag type, be it iCode, TagSys, ITG, who I think merged with Intelligent and Biblioteca a few years ago. Their proprietary formats, proprietary tags, they will all work with self-check. We support a variety of different proprietary data formats, as well as the ISO 28560 standard, which all tags should be at least in the last 4 or 5 years. But for obviously, we're aware that many libraries will have items that were tagged before that. So the app does support all of those older tag formats as well, including TagSys.
Okay. I have a couple of questions about the content management system and also having to do with customization. So, are changes made in real time? Can you customize the app's homepage to their look and colors and logo? That's a yes. We saw that at the end.
Yep.
And then, are the new releases on the app homepage pulled from our OPAC new releases banner? So, a couple content questions.
Yeah, so in terms of when the items update, so when you make changes on the CMS, the next time the user opens the app or within 2 hours, they will see that change. Um, or if they've been into something on the home screen and then come back to the home screen, then it will refresh as well. So it usually doesn't take as long as that, but if someone literally leaves their phone open on the home screen and doesn't do anything with it, then it could take that's the worst case scenario. It could take up to 2 hours for that to refresh on your device. But generally, the next time someone looks at the home screen, which is usually not that far away, then it will update the content that you see on the home screen. In terms of the carousel, right now for library.solution and Carl.x customers, it's bibliographic ID and ISBN only. We do have the ability to pull in content feeds from different places, so that's absolutely something we would look to pull in going forward from the OPAC. So as you change your OPAC carousel, that would then reflect in the app as well. We have that functionality within the app. We haven't rolled it out for library.solution and Carl.x customers as of yet.
Okay, thank you. I've gotten a couple of questions since we've started answering them about whether or not this is recorded. The answer is yes. All of our webinars are recorded. This will be available tomorrow on our website at tlcdelivers.com/webinars. You will also receive this in your email tomorrow. So for those of you who want to share this with your coworkers, we got you. We'll send it out. No worries there. A couple other questions about functionality. These are some great ones. I don't think we'll get to everything, but we will reach out to those that we are not able to answer the questions for. We'll go to the top of the hour and then we'll cut it there. Join us next week for our schools webinar if your question didn't get answered, and hopefully we'll get some more answered in that one. So I'll just a few more. Is there talk to text capability in the app, and what are some of the other accessibility features you may be able to speak to?
Sure. So we utilize the native accessibility features within the operating system on the device, and we develop the app to work seamlessly with those. So whether it's dynamic text, increasing the text size on the app, as you increase the text size on your device, text size in the app will increase along with it. In terms of the guidance or the requirements for text to screen readers, then the app is fully designed to be text-based. So any of the things that tend to trip up screen readers are all hidden from the screen reader. So things like lines and horizontal rules and icons, they're all hidden from the screen reader, and we focus on the text. The various different elements all have text equivalents or text replacements so that the screen reader can read out all of the content within the app, and that would obviously be in the language that you're using the app. So it's not using kind of default text in English only. It's using the language elements that have been configured for the language that you've chosen. So rather than trying to build something separate, we've really gone with the native platform support that people would normally be comfortable with on their devices, and we've built the app to be fully compliant with those features.
Very good. Speaking of compliancy, there's been a theme here with security. People are interested to know if the app, in quote, touches our library server or does it go through our TLC connection, and what are the security features? And then a follow-up to that has to do with borrower history. If it's turned off in the library, is it maintained within the app itself?
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So architecturally, the app communicates with our server using an encrypted HTTPS connection. Our server then makes a connection to TLC, and then TLC makes a connection to the library system, as you would currently see for your LS pack. Everything is fully encrypted from end to end, and it's fully secure from that perspective. In terms of the borrower history question, we don't actually store anything within the app at all. So there's no history stored within the app. There's no your checkouts, your holds, all that sort of information is not actually stored within the app. Every time you open the app, that is loaded fresh from the ILS. So we don't store anything. If the ILS is not storing your borrowing history, then the borrowing history is not stored, because we're not storing anything on our end. It's entirely down to whatever the ILS decides or has been configured to store or not. So yeah.
Perfect. And then we we have an answer in the questions panel. Fiona from Wellington jumped in to talk about Easy Proxy. Wellington has had several Easy Proxy database links into our app. So perfect. And that kind of ties into the next question, which has to do with the no pay fines feature in the app. We could link to a third party that uses an API with a URL to pay fines from the pay fine screen. Is that an option? And also, what other integrations do you offer?
Yeah, so in terms of existing fine payment systems, you can absolutely link to fine payment systems if you've got a URL there to do so. I don't think it's currently possible. Well, it is, but it's tricky to configure to put it onto the fines payment screen. We have done that for a few libraries, so that if that's something that you want, then we can definitely do that. The easiest way to do is just a pay fines button on the home screen and link out that way. And that makes it, I guess, a bit more visible for the patron, and you can do that directly in the CMS. If you did want to have that in the pay fine screen as well, then we can absolutely add that into the fine payment screen too. We are working, as I said, on additional fine payment options natively within the app. So that will include Apple Pay, Google Pay, PayPal, and native just standard credit debit card payments within the app that won't require you to have separate payment gateways and providers and merchant accounts and all that sort of stuff set up. So that's an additional thing that we're building, which should make the process a lot easier for libraries to take online payments rather than having to mess about with all the kind of convoluted processes and steps that are required for things like PCI compliance and all of that sort of stuff. So that
Yeah,
is
do you have
coming, but it will be a lot easier than the current process.
definitely. Do you have an estimated timeline on that? Someone wants to know.
Definitely by the end of the first half of this year. So
Okay.
we're aiming for the end of Q1, but we just in case it slips out of that, definitely by the end of Q2.
Definitely. Thank you. Oh, I have traffic going by outside my window. Sorry for everyone who can hear that. So I know that there are a few other questions. I think a few may have slipped through. I will go back and double check these after the webinar and reach out. Andrew, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. Because I do want to mention that we are doing this again next week with more of a schools focus. There's some cool things you can do with announcements and other things related to that K-12 audience. So if you wanted to kind of get a repeat with maybe a different flair for it, please join us next week for that. Also, if you work with any of your school libraries, please go ahead and send this to them as well so that they can join us next week too. If you want more information and you weren't able to hit that yes button on one of our polls, please go ahead and drop some information to the questions panel, all caps, put demo, info, something along those lines, and we'll be sure to reach out to you afterwards directly as well. This is a really great app, and we're so excited to be able to partner with Solus to make this happen for our library customers. So we want to give you all the information you need as well. So Andrew, I want to thank you again so much for joining us today and making this available and for coming back next week. We're glad you like us enough to come back. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, definitely. And for those again asking about the archives are available tomorrow, tlcdelivers.com/webinars. That's also where you can register for the next webinar, and you'll receive this in your email tomorrow. So thank you everyone for joining us. We'll go ahead and end it there, and we'll see you again next week.